Hi, I'm Anne-Marie Mediwake. Welcome to Your Morning, the podcast. We hope you enjoyed your first week of the new year.
I'm Kelsey McEwen. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Lindsey Deluce. As everyone gets ready to take on 2025, we here at Your Morning are taking a look back at the one-on-one interviews that defined our 2024. Today, we'll begin our conversation with a Toronto school principal, Jan.10, who rallied a community to save her school.
Then our in-depth interview with Canadian music legend Jan.10 Here are those interviews now.
Metro Prep in Toronto was on the verge of shutting down this past spring after operating for more than 40 years. Joanna now joins me to tell us the story about how you got the school back up and running. It's nice to see you again.
Thank you so much for having me back. I appreciate that.
The last time you were on, you and I were chatting, and I couldn't believe the story of the school, what was happening behind the scenes.
It was insane.
Yeah.
It was absolutely one of the craziest things I've ever been through. Unfortunately, in March, we lost our owner and principal, Wayne McKelvey, who I grew up at Metro. It's been my first and only teaching job. I was a baby teacher. So I grew up there, and when he passed, we weren't too sure what was gonna happen. And when it was announced that it was closing, Ryan and I looked at each other, and Ryan Seeley, who's the principal at Metro Prep now, we looked at each other and went, no, it's not. And then it just started us on this journey of trying to figure out how to make that come to fruition.
Because you had to tell the families that the school was shutting down, right?
Guys.
So these families heard, wait a second, there's going to be no school in September, this September.
Yeah. So that letter went out. That wasn't in my control. And as soon as that letter went out, Ryan and I said, okay, we have to have a town hall. So we invited all the families to Metro, and we all sat down together and said what was happening and what we wanted to do. And it was at that moment, everything was chaos, but it was at that moment I looked around this room and I had parents looking at us saying, if you're gonna teach in a tent, that's where we're gonna be.
Really?
And these are kids that are from grade 7 all the way to grade 12 who were looking at us to try to save a culture. It didn't matter, the name and the building and all of those things, set that aside. The teachers and the ethos of the school, they're like, this is worth saving. If you can save it in any way, shape, or form, we're with you, 100%. And it was like a trial by fire. I mean, I always called Metro my family, but this, now it's solidified. These people, these families that have stayed with us through the chaos and the uncertainty, that's family now.
Yeah, I can't imagine what they were going through as well as what you were. I mean, you were a teacher, and then you had to put on a creative hat in terms of like, how are we going to keep this? How are we going to keep this school alive? You had to then go out and say, okay, we need some money.
Yeah, we needed to find investors. Some people think misunderstood that I do not have school buying money.
Right.
That's not, some of my students were like, Joanna, it's just TikTok money, just use, and I'm like, that's not how, I don't have that.
Right.
But we found a beautiful, beautiful individual, an investor, and they believe in the school, they believe in the character of the school, they understand it's a very, very special place. It's a very unique private school. I don't know how many other places what we've done there even exists in Toronto.
Yeah, what makes it so different from other private schools?
A couple of things. I think, and we've sort of devised this idea that we're a school of character, and if you can imagine that with a comma, with a bracket, a little S, they're characters. Character meaning we teach the kid. We teach the curriculum through the student. And that student, if they have character, and what I mean by that is the right heart. They come to Metro and they want to give 100% of their effort. I don't care where they start. I don't care about standardized. I don't care any of that sort of seemingly objective rating of how a student is. You're going to come here and you have a 60 in math. Cool. Let's see if we can get that to a 70. Nice. You struggle and you have anxiety. Okay, let's see how we can help you manage that and get better. That's the point. The point is to take the student and whatever strengths and weaknesses they have, build up their weaknesses and, develop their strengths, and then make them sort of, or allow them more so to become the unique individual that they are.
In 1999, Jan.10 released A Color and Moving Still, an album that has since gone double platinum.
With my own 2 eyes, and now it's all around me, it's all around.
she took the music world by storm, winning a Grammy, 3 Juno Awards, and also writing for some of the biggest artists in the music scene like Kelly Clarkson, Drake, Britney Spears, Shakira, Kendrick Lamar, and that's just to name a few. So here in studio to talk about the 25th anniversary re-release of Color, Moving and Still is Canadian music icon Chantal Kreviazuk. Welcome back to this studio.
Thank you for having me again.
It is so great.
I'm so lucky.
I saw you chuckling when you were watching that video. What were you thinking about?
Oh my God, you don't want to know what I was thinking about. Oh my gosh. I remember this one time, someone sent me a note and found me somehow and sent me a note and said, I just want to say that that's the worst video I have ever seen in my life, and you should be so embarrassed for the rest of your life.
Wow.
And yeah, these are the notes that we get. And I actually thought it was just very funny. And I was like, you know what? You might be onto something there.
Listen, it's very literal. All around me, and you're going around.
Spinning chair.
That's
Come on,
right.
Don't you? They don't get the concept?
It was the 90s. Color and Moving Still had so many great songs on it, like Before You. And because I love this music, I'm going to let everybody listen to more.
Oh my God, I look so young.
You look great.
Baby, before you, I was bad news.
This is me in my car with my CD player and no air conditioning, driving down the #2 highway in Alberta. I hear this, I go back to a very specific time in my life. I felt like my life and my career were just getting started.
Wow.
So when you look at that, like, did you know when you released this album, it was going to be a defining moment in your career, or were you just happy to get this creativity out?
Well, you're so in it, right? When you're making these things.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like whether it's conscious or unconscious, I always have a bit of a vision, and I'm just trying so hard. It's like a storyboard in my mind, and so I'm just trying so hard to achieve that at the time. I've actually just recorded my 10th album in Sweden.
Incredible. Congrats.
And I went there. I was so stressed, but it's the same thing. You just have this vision, and you just want to try to. And I'm somebody who really likes full projects, you know, and I love that. I guess that's coming back in to do a full project.
Yeah.
Because it was becoming a bit of a one-song world, one single world, you know.
Yeah.
You just put one song out and hopefully that's what flies.
Right.
But I like a whole project, and so I've been fortunate enough to make 10, you know, that'll be my 10th full album project.
Listen, one of the very special things about being in this iconic building at Queen and John, in this studio, in fact, is that it housed much music. So for you, I promised you some surprises.
Oh,
we went
gosh.
digging into the archives, and we pulled up this interview you did with Much in 1998.
You're gonna make me cry.
Oh, good. It's the best TV about the kind of venues you want to play at. So, Chantal, here you are, 26 years ago.
Gosh, stop.
I demand a lot from myself and from my audience, and I think it's only fair if I'm going to make those demands to not put us in a place where, you know, you are what you eat. So if I put people in, you know, a big like dance club / bar band bar, I can't expect people to listen. And I didn't write the songs that I'm writing. I'm not writing these kinds of songs to not be heard, you know? They are about us relating with each other. So if I'm going to perform them, I'd like to at least give it a try, having that intimacy.
Does that hold true for you still?
Wow.
What do you think when you see that young woman?
I'm mad at you.
Why?
Oh my gosh, you're like Barbara Wawa. Oh my God, I'm proud of that girl. I'm playing Massey Hall tonight, so I guess, you know.
It held true. 26 years. That's
I am never doing an interview with you again. I don't even take myself seriously. That was, but I mean, that's like I don't even know that. I mean, I feel like that's
It's like
so
prophetic.
long ago.
You listen to that and it's like prophetic. Look at you. Here you are. You're coming to Massey Hall tonight.
Yeah, I guess I told you I had a vision, apparently.
You did.
Unconscious or conscious, I had a vision. But I have, you know, been a little bit spoiled in that, like, I've been in the Conservatory of Music since I was a kid, and those are very intimate audiences. I wasn't the girl playing at the bar or whatever. So I think I was just going to be more comfortable with a captive audience.
Yeah.
So
Chantal Kreviazuk, the 25th anniversary of Color, Moving and Still
Come to
is
Massey.
out right now. Come to Massey
yes,
tonight
there's
here
a few
in Toronto.
tickets left. Yeah.
You know, 2024 was another great year at the movies.
Yeah, we caught up with Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, stars of the recently released We Live in Time, along with their director, John Crowley.
And a Canadian legend, Titanic, Argo, Sleepless in Seattle, Legally Blonde. Should I go on? I mean, Victor Garber's resume, it is a long list of hits. He joined us to reflect on his decades-long career.
Friends, let me tell you, Florence Pugh's and Andrew Garfield's brand new movie. It is heartbreaking and it is beautiful. It's called We Live in Time. It follows a couple as they embark on a path challenged by the limits of time. I had the chance to sit down with them, with Florence and with Andrew and director John Crowley, to talk all about this making of this emotional and captivating love story. Take a look.
There is something that your daddy and I...
There's something that Mummy and me want to
talk to you about.
How did it feel taking on a role like this, having lost your own mum to cancer?
Yeah, I feel like a privilege, and I think that the way it was written was so sensitive and felt so tender and caring and nuanced and life-affirming in all of the loss, and so much beauty in the loss and the grief, and so much love. And it is that strange, mysterious setup that we can only go as high as we can go low. Like we can only go as deep as we can go high. And so the amount of love we feel for each other in this very strange, surreal time we have on this planet will be matched by the amount of grief we have when we lose each other.
I'm Alma, by the way. Alma.
I knew that Florence was an actor of supreme, unmatched talent and depth of soul. I'd seen it in the films that she had done. We had all the right ingredients, and then it was like, well, let's see if it works. And we just kind of gave it the old college try, and I think we're all pretty relieved and happy that...
We're chuffed.
We're chuffed. we had the experience we had, and then the film was beautiful, so yeah.
It's a movie that celebrates it all, and even if you go in knowing what the outcome is going to be, and knowing that at some point you're going to feel so sad, it's a celebration of all of it across the board. It's a celebration of living, it's a celebration of love, it's a celebration of trying, it's a celebration of failing, and it's just like what life is about. And if you are lucky enough to ever be in love in the way that these people are, which hopefully everybody is, then it's a reminder of how much we have with each other, how much time we have, and to not in any way let any of it go without noticing it. What's the rush?
Because I'm worried that there's a very distinct and real possibility that I am about to fall in love with you.
Tobias is a character who is all about, like, we got the lists, we got the timings, we got the stopwatch, everything will be okay, you know, right? Everything will be fine, and life has other ideas. and the sort of juggling of the absurdity of it, and the emotionality of it, and the profundity and silliness at times.
I've had 3 kids, and I just say well done, because you nailed that scene. That was everything that birth is, and your face, Andrew, like that was my husband through all births. You were downtown, like you were right in it. How do you guys even film a scene like that? It's intimate and it's gritty and it's hilarious. Where does that come from?
I really, really know how important it is when women watch births on screen, and whether it's right or wrong. So I wanted to really get like the sounds right and understand the mechanics of when the baby drops, like what does that feel like, where is that pain, and that also just came from the precision in the script, the dedication of what John was trying to shoot, and creating a safe space so that both Andrew and I could just give it a go at giving birth to a child that wasn't actually coming out.
And you know, you've got all of that going on, absolutely really, and 2 great actors playing moments with each other as well, finding connection between each other in the scene, and then in comes a baby who doesn't really care if it's going to ruin the sound take. It's just going to cry when it wants to cry, and suddenly this sort of primal sort of
all over my and pissing all over my hand.
This just sort of primal need just emerged into the scene and was like, no, I'm the center of the universe, and you could feel the whole change happening in it. So it was quite profound.
Passing the baby through my
real life
baby,
newborn.
Andrew passing her through my legs, and then you having to quickly slump back because I now had the it was so beautiful. And then this little baby with these massive eyes was just connecting with both of us. And then she put her hand on my mouth and she fell asleep.
Oh my God. The film captures life so beautifully, and congratulations again. Thank you for the opportunity to chat with you today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, you know him from the 1974 ABC After School special, where he was the voice of Christian, or the 1983 TV movie Charlie's Aunt, when he played Jack Chesney, or maybe from this.
From this moment, no matter what we do, Titanic will founder.
That is Victor Garber being honored for a lifetime of incredible roles, 149 credits on IMDb to be exact, from Titanic, of course, to Legally Blonde and Alias. And he joins me in studio today. Victor, it's great to have you.
Thank you. I'm always stunned when I look back and think, oh, I did that too. Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh, how old am I? Lifetime Achievement Award. Does that mean it's over? It's like that's where I go. But this, I'm excited about being back in Canada, and London, Ontario is where I was born, and the Forest City Film Festival. Dorothy Downs has done this extraordinary thing, and they're going into their 9th season. And I've been trying to get here all this time, and then COVID and everything, and now I'm here. And I took so long. I'm getting a Lifetime Achievement Award for just getting here.
Just getting here.
Yes.
I mean, it's
it's an incredible cultural center in London, Ontario, which when I was growing up, it didn't feel quite like that, But the Grand Theatre is where I started my career, and I have just nothing but nostalgia and love for that theater, and excited about this film festival. It's really a remarkable thing she's done.
It really is. Take me back to those early days. You started in London, then you came to Toronto. In 1972, you were in the Toronto production of Godspell.
Yes.
But you were alongside some names we know today, like Martin Short and
Quite
Eugene
a few
Levy.
names, yeah.
What were those days like when your career was just starting to gain all of the attention that led you to today?
It's often when you're in the middle of something, you don't realize. I knew when I was in the room with the Godspell cast, I thought, I'm surrounded by people that are so much more talented than I am, and who are just brilliant. And I remember that feeling, and so it's not a surprise to me that it achieved what it achieved. But now it's being documented. They're doing a documentary on it, and unfortunately, we won't have everybody because a lot of people are gone. And I miss Gilda terribly, because she would have loved this. Godspell was her life. Yeah, but Marty and Eugene and Andrea Martin and Jane Eastwood, we're all connected still.
You are. You are receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award, as you mentioned, for the Forest City Film Festival. This is in your hometown of London. What's really cool is it's also the same city that your mom had her own show on CFPL TV, At Home with Hope Garber.
Very, very good.
Very good.
Yes.
What does it mean to you to be honored in the place that you grew up, that formed you?
It's overwhelming, and so for a while I was kind of trying to deflect it, and then finally, I realized that just take it in, just accept this. It's because I'm so uncomfortable with being, I love what I do, but I don't like all the attention so much. But I am really honored. I am really honored to have this happen, and I can't thank Dorothy enough for making it happen. And my family will be there. All my family and I have family living in London. So it's unimaginable, and I'm just incredibly grateful.
You've had such an incredible career, worked with some beautiful names, like you've mentioned already, but also with Jennifer Garner, who is a dear friend of yours. She never shies away from really singing your praises.
She's it's like the daughter I've never had, but she is a remarkable person and has taken great care of me in my life, and I'm so grateful to her. And I also have my family law. My Canadian family law, the show I did in Vancouver for the last 4 years, and all of those, I have 3 children who I adore on that show too. Oh, there's Reiner, my partner.
These pictures are just beautiful. Victor, it is incredible to have you in studio, and congratulations.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I wish you could just stick around all day.
Oh, I got a lot to talk about.
You do, but you got a lot to do too.
Way
Packed
too much,
schedule.
really.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
my pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Your Morning, the podcast. Every week, we bring you some of the most interesting conversations from our show on a wide variety of topics. And speaking of the show, you can always join us live weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, 7 to 10 a.m. Atlantic on CTV, CTV News Channel, or on your CTV News app. We had a lot of great entertainers come to studio, sit down with us on Your Morning in this past year.
Oh, you know what such a great moment was this year? Drag icon RuPaul joining Anne-Marie to talk about his new memoir, The House of Hidden Meanings.
Then comedian Katherine Ryan joined us to talk about her Canadian upbringing and what it was like following her journey of authenticity to stardom in the UK. We have both those interviews right now.
It's abundantly clear that stardom was not an option for you, it was a given. And you write this great story about your mom when she's pregnant with you, going to see a psychic. What did the psychic tell her?
The psychic told my mother when she was pregnant with me that she would have a boy and that the boy would be famous. And so my mother went on to say, well, I'm going to give him a famous name. I'm going to call him RuPaul Andre Charles.
When I first started watching Drag Race, one of our producers, Paul, who's a huge fan, said to me, if you want to truly appreciate this show, watch Paris is Burning. And for anybody who doesn't know, Paris is Burning was this 1990 documentary, and it talks about the emergence of drag in New York City. And there's a scene in there, there's a young man who said the walk home from the club was the walk for your life. Meaning there was always a threat of violence. And this is the era you came up in. Now, drag is global. There's a drag con. There's an industry that's built around drag. And from an outsider, I look and say, you did that. You put it there. You not only created space, you made acceptance. Do you ever reflect on or feel the magnitude of that?
It's very kind of you to give me all of that that honor, but it really, you know, I'm a part of it, but it's not really on my shoulders. It was bound to happen. But all of these movements are cyclical. You know, the pendulum swings to the far right, it swings to the left. You know, you just got to be in the right place at the right time so the pendulum doesn't hit you.
There's a line in here where you say, I have always believed that kindness is the highest form of intellect. And yet people were not always kind to you. You experienced homophobia, you experienced racism, but you've been able to stay kind. How did you do that?
Well, it's not easy, Anne-Marie.
That's why I'm asking. I want to know. It's got to be hard. I want to know how you did the hard.
What? The truth is, I am naturally kind. I am. I don't like meanness, and I don't like it put upon me. I don't like doing it to other people. So you give what you want in return. You put out what you want to receive. It's really as simple as that. You know, I've always envied certain people who could, you know, come back with a snappy comeback, you know. Yeah. And after something would have happened, I would have gone home and said, oh, I should have said this, and I should have said that. But that's just not me. It's not my natural instinct is to be kind first.
Does that still happen to you? Because I think you are so quick. I think that never happens to you.
Well, I'm quick with funny things, but not negative things.
Oh, interesting.
Not negative things to put someone down. Right. Because I couldn't live with myself.
The name RuPaul and the image of RuPaul first came into my sphere in 1994 with the Viva Glam campaign. Yeah. And I'm a woman of color, so I would drive 3 hours to Calgary, Alberta to get MAC Cosmetics. Yeah. And there you were, full up on the posters. But I also remember your video, Supermodel. And you describe it this way, as naughty light. And your recipe was, I love this, 2 spoonfuls of Diana Ross, a pinch of Cher, a shake of Dolly, all sealed with Walt Disney's family friendliness. What do you remember about making that video? It's iconic.
Well, that video, thank you. What I remember the most was that I had a Winnebago for, you know, when we went to different locations, which to me meant I had become a star, because that's what stars have. That's what I remember the most about it.
That you were a star.
That I was a star because I had a Winnebago.
So you're very candid about your romantic relationships in this book, about the attractions and about the breakups. You talk about when you met your now husband at the club and walking through addiction together and your breakup. What reconnected the two of you?
Well, we never really disconnected. We tried to. We tried to disconnect because we wanted to go our own paths and our own sobriety journey. But we are kindred spirits, and we just like each other so much. He is my favorite person in the whole wide world. I met a lot of people. He's
What
my
is
favorite.
your favorite about him?
He's funny, and he's very kind, and he's sweet, he's grumpy. He's a really lovely person, and I can feel him. I can feel his energy, and I can read him, and it's beautiful. He's lovely.
Catherine Ryan is a Canadian comedian who is, well, she's pretty much doing it all. She has a podcast. She's touring her live show. She has written and starred in a Netflix series. She's written a book, and the list goes on. And now she's back on Canadian soil for yet another show. Catherine Ryan is in studio to tell us more. I should say welcome back, Catherine, because Deep Cut, you were a dancer on Electric Circus, which was shot in this studio right here.
I know, I've come full circle. It's actually so exciting to be back in this studio after 21 years. Since my retirement from dance, if you want to call it that.
What do you remember about that time and being here?
I just thought it was so exciting to move to Toronto, first of all, being from a small town of Sarnia.
Yeah.
And I really loved entertainment, and I was a young Y2K woman of the world, and I thought, I'm gonna queue up on a Friday night outside Much Music, as it was then, and hopefully dance on a podium. That was the goal.
And did you?
To be elevated. Oh yes, many times, many Friday nights.
I love it. And listen, I know that it's tough to get in. There was some like strong gatekeeping going on, so good on you for making it onto the platform.
It was happy memories.
All right, well, you're in the UK now, but you've come back to Canada. You were joining the judging team for Canada's Got Talent. Of course, you're no stranger to the stage. What do you think is going to be the most challenging part of this job? I mean, the judging part might be not hard, I'm guessing.
I think it is very difficult to judge, especially music acts, as I'm not a singer.
Yeah.
I feel that my role is to come in as a villain who's been in Britain a while. I'm giving a little Simon Cowell.
Okay.
I've been called in as a mercenary, perhaps, just to give my honest, truthful opinion about the Canadian talent that I know this country has to offer.
Yeah.
I know we're gonna see some amazing things, but some nonsense as well. And I'm not afraid to call that out, hopefully in a funny way.
This is what people love about you. You're about to watch people on the cusp of getting their big break. And does it make you think back to the different times in your life when all of a sudden maybe you realized comedy was the thing for you? Because you went to, well, what's now TMU, but you went to Ryerson for something very different.
I did. I studied urban and regional planning.
Yeah.
But that was just my path to Toronto.
Yeah, okay.
I just wanted to be in this city. And I think that as long as you're following a path of authenticity, you will find your way. And I heard a lot of no's on that path as well. I didn't know early doors that I wanted to be a comedian. I just wanted to be part of a metropolis and to do silly things and to entertain. And I feel like there's so much talent in this country.
Yeah.
And to be sat next to Shania Twain and Cardinal Official, to whom I danced on Electric Circus.
Right.
And Howie Mandel, who's obviously a world-class comedian.
Yeah.
Canada's got it, and I'm gonna find it.
Oh, I love that. You host a podcast that's called Telling Everyone Everything, which, like FYI, she does. So you're comfortable talking about your personal life. You've got 3 kids. Is there anything that's a no-go zone for you?
Well, now that my eldest daughter is a teenager, I have a massive gap. I have a teenage daughter and babies.
Yeah.
I do gatekeep areas of her life because I remember what it was like to navigate being a young woman. And I've heard certain male comedians talk about their teenage daughters' milestones or their bodies or their partners. And so now she's a little off limits because I think it's wonderful to have a bit of privacy as a young woman.
Listen, you're known for not holding back on certain opinions. Was that her coming to you saying, Mom, I need you to not talk about this?
Not at all. She is very mentally robust and she has a great sense of humor. And I do a bit, you know, I talk about her having a 45-step skincare routine and no empathy. She's Mussolini with a Stanley Cup. I say that having a teenage daughter is like giving birth to your high school bully.
Yes.
So we go there. But not entirely.
You also are touring a new show called Battle Axe. Why did you give it that? I mean, I have a British mom, and so that is yes, and so that is a term that was used in the house. But why did you call your tour that?
I think it's really fun to reclaim negative adjectives about women, and anytime that they'll pick on us for being older, for daring to age, or for being outspoken, or for being headstrong. They'll call you crazy. And Battle Axe was traditionally a problematic, maybe disruptive older woman. And I think those are lovely things to be.
Oh, I love that so much. Catherine Ryan, great to have you back. Welcome back to the Electric Circus / Your Morning Studio.
Thank you. When does the music start?
Right now.
I'm ready, Anne-Marie.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheer up, Leafs fans. I mean, life's not all that bad. You're doing well this year. You've got Boston Matthews. The CN Tower it's tall.
Well, here's something else for you. An interview with Matt Sundin.
Yeah, the Leafs legend joined Anne-Marie to talk about his path from the outskirts of Stockholm to the Hall of Fame. Here's that interview now.
We have hockey royalty in our studio this morning, particularly for Toronto Maple Leaf fans. Matt Sundin clocked nearly 1,000 games in blue and white. 840 of those were as captain. 13 seasons, leading scorer, most goals, most assists, most overtime goals. And now the Hockey Hall of Famer is inviting readers into the inner workings of that impressive NHL career with his new book, Home and Away. We are so glad to have you here in the studio this morning, Matt. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Listen, I loved in this book learning about your family, about your childhood, growing up in Sweden, and I loved this story that your grandmother used to play goalie for you and your brothers, and that was her idea. What was Grandma Marta like as a goalie?
We scored a lot of goals on her. She made some saves. We were just glad to get someone in there, in that.
What a great memory. You write quite a bit about the media in this city and about how some players would read out. There you are. Who is this in this picture?
That's me to the right, the little guy, and my older brother, Patrick, 4 years older, to the left. My dad played goalie for a while when we were growing up.
Unless Grandma Marta was around.
Exactly. And that's me in the blue overall, and my older brother, Patrick, in the red. And I just try to chase him. So he was very important for me growing up, and I had that 4-year-old that I could chase and try to keep up with. So it gave me a good start with my hockey career.
Do you still play hockey with him now?
Not with him, but I do play again. I play once a week for an hour. Still as fun as when playing for the Leafs. You know, I still love the game.
Let's talk about the game. You know, you write about how, the media loved to try and figure out Matt Sundin. And you said you never would read any of the articles. One of the stories that I love that you describe is when you came back to Toronto after leaving.
Yeah.
And, people remember this footage. You were emotional during that game. We saw that. But what we didn't see is what you write about in the book and how you were feeling ahead of time, that you were actually nervous. What were you worried about?
I was always nervous for a game. I think that and we talk about, that knot in the stomach is something that I miss today too. It's business time, right? You have to perform, you have to get there. And if you don't have that knot, the performance is not going to be as good. So that's something I'm missing now. But as soon as you hit the ice, it was gone, right? It's something you've done millions of times, skating and playing games.
But that game in particular, you weren't just nervous about the game. You were nervous about the fans and how they react. What happened when you walked into the arena?
I had a tough time falling asleep the day before, coming back, and with the commotion that went on when I had played my last year for the Leafs. And I think 13 years with the team, 11 years as a captain, it gets personal. It meant so much to me all those years for me and my family. So it was hard coming back. Once the game started, it was tough to focus just on the game, like in a normal way. But great memory.
Yeah, and great memory for fans too. I can't help but thinking, and I'm glad you put this story in the book. You arrive in this city, and you came at a time, you were traded for a beloved member of this team, for Wendell Clark. You're a young man, you're a foreigner, which is how they would have described you then, being from Sweden. You didn't orchestrate this trade, but you were the public face of it. And how difficult was that transition? Because fans actively disliked you, and it took a long time for them to give you the credit that you were showing them on the ice.
Oh, for sure. And lucky enough, maybe, I didn't understand how big the shoes were that I had to fill after Wendell Clark until I got here. And
what
totally
told you?
Different. Just the question that I got from media. How does it feel trying to fill Wendell Clark's shoes? And completely different style of player. I mean, Wendell was pretty tough. He would drop his gloves fighting, played a real Western Canadian hockey game up and down, and me coming from Europe, all skill, producing goals and points. So it took me a few years to earn the respect from the fans and actually prove that I was worthy the Leafs trading away Wendell.
How did you not let that get in your head?
Well, I don't know. I think my demeanor and the way we write it in the book, just the upbringing and everything. I was very fortunate to have parents, very safe environment growing up, and I think that really helped me. And we reflect on that in the book. It really helped me prepare for what's coming, representing the Toronto Maple Leafs, and being the captain.
When I was preparing for this interview, I called up Shane Doan because he not only played against you, but you spent some time together recently. He was complimentary of your skills. He described you as a real-life Viking. And he was also a long-serving captain like yourself, but he said there's being a captain and then there's being a captain in Toronto.
Yeah.
What did that mean to you?
Well, when I got the captaincy or got asked to be the captain, I called up Boris Salming. Obviously, I didn't have the knowledge about or really the right answer. And Boris said, you have to accept it, Mats. It's the biggest honor in hockey. Toronto is the hockey capital of the world. And he also denied being the captain. And then he said he regretted that the rest of his life. So it was an easy decision for me. And I always felt that my game was better. I was the captain since a young age, 10, 12 years old. So I felt my game was always improved. A little more responsibility.
I want to ask you about a little secret you reveal in the book, that there's a secret club nestled in the ACC that most people don't know about.
It was.
There was. It is called the Cotton Club. Can you tell that story to us?
Yeah, and you reflect back, and I'm glad I did the book now when I'm a little bit older, because you realize a place like that where, there's a laundry machine, there's a little couch there, and guys could get away after the game and hang with...
Wait, the laundry machine? So you're in the laundry room?
The laundry room, yeah. The Cotton Club was a laundry room, and trainers are running in and out after the game, and guys would come in there, just sit down and relax for a bit and talk about everything else but hockey, right? So, but it's an off button at the same time mentally, because with the pressure, the game's been going on, there's a lot of guys been dealing with the media before, so you just come in there, sit down and relax and get the pressure out of the system was actually important for those years.
I can't imagine you guys sitting amongst all the dirty, sweaty whatnots of after a hockey game, having those kinds of conversations. Hey, Matt Sundin, it was really great to have you here. I got to ask you one last question before you go, because you dedicate this book to your 3 children who are 12, 10, and 7. Was it harder being a coach of the captain of the Leafs or being a dad of 3?
Easy question. It's tougher to be the dad with 3 kids.
It's a great book and a great one for fans as well. It is called Home and Away. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us today.
For more great conversations, download or hit subscribe to Your Morning, the podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget, watch us live weekday mornings on CTV, CTV News Channel, or on your CTV News app. Start your morning with us.